Good afternoon. Is anybody out there? Hey, it's great to be with you. My name's Ben Pring from Cognizant. I run Cognizant Center for the Future of Work. It's lovely to be here. I hope you're having a nice day. You've been in here since 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock this morning, listening to people talk about the future of work. It's the early afternoon session. Perhaps the lunchtime calories are kicking in a little bit. Your eyes are beginning to get a little droopy. You're feeling a little overwhelmed by everything you've heard. So what I'm going to do in my short, brief time with you is make this very simple. I'm going to try and reduce the source. There's a lot of important things going on in technology at the moment. This is the most important. This is the great story of our time. This is history in the making. This is what your kids are going to be studying in the future when they download chips into people's brains. And you get this, I'm sure. The robots aren't coming. They're here. Robots make cars. If you talk to Alexa or Siri, you're talking to machine learning, artificial intelligence. Perhaps you've seen the videos from Atlas at Boston Dynamics. This is not CGI. This is real. The robots are here. And perhaps you're using more and more sophisticated software, like the software from X.AI, a really cool company up in New York, which is scheduling meetings, software infusing its way into every kind of work stream, every workload, every process you do. This is real. This is happening now. 8 out of the top 10 hedge funds in America are algorithmically traded. No humans involved at all. Software is outperforming doctors in reading MRIs and X-rays. The work that it used to take 2 weeks for a paralegal to do is being done by 2 hours now. And of course, we stand on the cusp of this incredible revolution in transportation, all based on this underlying technology. This is big stuff, people. And of course, it's a big story, and it's a scary story. If you're a techie, nerdy guy like me, live long and prosper. This is great. There's never been a better time to be alive. We are making science fiction real. But if you're an ordinary person, a civilian, a parent, a mid-level employee in a big company, this is scary stuff. And you've seen reports like this from Oxford University saying the robots, the machines, the AI is going to destroy employment as we know it. Scary stuff. Are you awake? You should be. Well, I'm here to tell you, again, I'm trying to reduce the source, that Oxford University are wrong. And I'm a Brit, so I can say that. This is our view of what's going to happen in the next 10 years. Not half of jobs going away, but probably 10% of jobs. And a lot of new jobs being created. And in the middle of this bell curve, the real action, the real opportunity for everybody in this room to take the work you do today and make it better. But of course, in this 10 years, in the next stretch of time ahead of us, there is going to be a huge amount of disruption and churn. And of course, that's what we're all thinking about when we open the newspaper, look at what's on the news. That's really the story that we see every day in front of us, this disruption as our world changes in material ways. Well, again, I'm trying to make this simple. There is only one real material way to deal with a disruption, and it's to invent the future, to discover the future of your work. And that's what we write about at Cognizant Center for the Future of Work. All these big waves of technology and business change and societal demographic change, creating huge opportunity for all of us ahead. It's what we've written about in a new report that you'll find up on our website called From and To, everything you wanted to know about the future of your work, but we're afraid to ask. And I just want to spend 2 or 3 minutes talking about some of these big waves, because these are important. These are the things we should be taking back to our companies, to our societies, to our communities, and getting more and more people involved in them. I'm going to talk about these 3, virtual reality, biotech, and next generation IT. I said AI is the great story of our time. Perhaps biotech is an even bigger story. The transition into the CRISPR generation, the CRISPR revolution, is extraordinary. Bill Gates was up at Harvard recently. A smart kid said to him, if you're going to drop out of Harvard today, what would you do, Bill? And he said, I'm going to go into biotech. So if you have any play in that, any interest in that, any skill set, this is a revolution that's going to change our world in an incredible way. Some people look at VR, they think this stuff looks kind of clunky, kind of ridiculous, kind of stupid. Perhaps you bought it for your kids on Christmas, and then by New Year's Eve, it's under the tree, left alone and unloved. I put it into this context. Perhaps you know who those people are. In the interest of time, I'll tell you. It's the Lumiere brothers, who invented the movies in the 1860s. Could the Lumiere brothers have imagined Iron Man? Of course not. Could they have imagined all the jobs, all the opportunity, all the joy, all the pleasure that fundamental core technology invented? Of course not. Well, that's the way to think about VR. We're creating a new platform, a new paradigm. Goldman Sachs think it's going to be bigger than TV within 10 years. The transitional technology, augmented reality, Tim Cook thinks is going to be bigger than VR. And perhaps some of you saw your kids playing this a few years ago and thought this was the decline and fall of Western civilization. Well, I started writing about cloud computing in Gartner over 20 years ago, and people used to laugh at that and thought that was stupid. But that's changed every one of your businesses in completely profound ways. And I think VR, AR is going to be even bigger than the cloud. Everything in the future, all the opportunity ahead of us, is predicated on the underlying technology. The first commercial computer just celebrated its 73rd birthday. And in that 73 years, we've gone from a cottage industry to an industry that employs almost 20% of the workforce around the world. In the next 50 years, the next 70 years, we're going to go from 20% of the working population to 50% of the working population. Perhaps some of you saw yesterday the announcement about Sycamore, quantum computing supremacy generated by Google. Imagine what we can do with computers 100 million times faster than the ones we have today. And if you can't imagine that, you're in the wrong room, because this is the opportunity ahead of us. Of course, making this future secure is very important work. And Aaron Levy at Box said recently, if you want a job for the next 10 years, work in technology, and if you want a job for life, work in cybersecurity. So making that future secure is very important. This is what the future looks like. This is what we've got to grapple with. This is what we've written about in our report, 21 Jobs of the Future, where we speculated and created job descriptions for these new unimaginable jobs. That report came out a couple of years ago. It was very successful. We did it again, 21 more jobs. And I'm just going to tell you in 2 minutes about 3 of the jobs that we've written out of this list of 42, just to give you a sense of this. And again, this is all freely available up at Cognizant Center for the Future of Work. The first I'm going to mention is what we call an algorithm bias auditor. We don't want algorithms to rule our life without knowing how they came to decisions. The notion that we would have a mortgage application rejected and simply have no way of knowing why it was rejected is unacceptable. So we don't want black box technology. Explainable AI, again, is going to create huge opportunity going forward, because we want this technology to create a fair workforce. Similarly, we don't want to get into self-driving cars and not feel that they're safe. Again, from a policy perspective, from a technology perspective, from a management optimization perspective, this is a huge opportunity to build trust with machines to generate incredible growth. And you all know the phrase, we wanted flying cars and all we got was 140 characters. You know that one? Well, the flying cars are really coming now. Again, science fiction becoming non-science fact. Sergey Brin of Google fame, who has $56 billion burning a hole in his back pocket, spends no time working at Google or on Google at the moment at all. He spends all his time on this. Have you heard of Kitty Hawk? Check it out. Kitty Hawk are flying cars, which we'll all be using to get to Reagan very soon. So the new machines in you. We kind of know where this is going because we've seen this story before. We know that in the last 100 years, we emptied out the farms. We went from 80% of people working on the farm to 2%, creating more food, better food than ever, because we used machinery. Well, fast forward, in the next 50 years, we're going to empty out the cubicle farms. We're going to process more applications for a mortgage, for an insurance claim than ever before, with far fewer people, because the technology is going to do that work. So it leads to this existential question, the question that you're all grappling with, the question society is grappling with, really the underlying theme of this conference. How do I beat the robots? So we write about this extensively at Cognizant Center for the Future of Work. But if I had to summarize it, which I do because I've only got 1 second left, into one slide, it's this. Don't be a bad robot. Lots of human work currently is basically people imitating machines. But now the real robots are showing up and doing that work better. The real solution is to be a good human being. I don't want to go to a robot doctor. I don't want to go to a robot lawyer. I don't want to have my kids taught by a robot teacher. I'm sure you don't either. But I want those professions to use the technology to give me and my kids and all of us a better human experience. Many people fear the machines. Many people are scared of this revolution. Don't be. Be an optimist. Because ultimately, it's only optimists that can lead. It's only optimists that can develop the future of our work. And that is the work ahead of us, injecting all its incredible technology into the important parts of our society to make them better. And in doing that, we've all got a lot of important work to do. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the day.